All right, we will go ahead and get started. This is the July 27th, 2021 Board of Public Works and Safety. I'll now call it to order. Chris, are there any additional items or adjustments to the agenda we need to be aware of? Seeing none, is there, I believe, all three of us were here at the last meeting? So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second? Second by Jason. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to resolutions, we have a request to approve additional service authorization agreement with Browning Day.
No, July 13th.
You were not here. So we'll, Jason abstain. We'll move on to the request to approve additional service. Okay. I'll second that original motion. Jason will abstain. Good call. We have a request to approve additional service authorization agreement with Browning Day for Nickel Plate Trail Phase 2B. Jason?
Good afternoon. Jason Taylor, Director of Engineering. Before you is a supplemental for Browning Day related to the Nickel Plate Trail, and this is for 2B, Phase 2B, which is really the northern portion between 116th and North. One correction that needs to be noted, notified legal just a little bit ago. The board action form on the supplement amount is correct. It's $74,092, but in the actual agreement as the amendment, it says $272,000. It's actually a little over 300. I think it totals to $301,386. This was an item that was previously on the board. We went back to the drawing board, looked at some things, made changes, and then are bringing it back. So this supplemental is essentially for Browning Day and some of their additional services that were both outside of scope and some that was intentionally left off, because the outside of scope items were a lot more meetings that were attended. Browning Day has gone above and beyond on the number of meetings. Originally in our scope, we talked about 7 total meetings or so, and now we're above 25 meetings because they're doing on-site meetings with Meyer Najum, with our contractor, just making sure that everything is flowing well with the design, even though that design it hasn't went out to bid yet. In addition, we added the construction administration portion, which is approximately $40,500. That includes some lighting services as well as some irrigation aspects that we've coordinated with Public Works. On the additional $25,000 that is inside that scope of construction, it was intentionally left out, all of this, because we wanted, with the BOT operation between the city and Meyer Najum, we wanted to see if there were additional services needed. In total, we had budgeted $274,000 in anticipation of a construction administration aspect being part of this. Now we're about $24,000 above that amount, but we still have money inside contingency of our build, operate, transfer contract, so we're still within the total budget amount. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Jason? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Jeff, second by Jason. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Next is a resolution accepting the conveyance of certain real property located at East 96th Street. Chris?
Tracy, could you go back and just hit Exhibit A for me on this while I present? Perfect. Maybe just scroll down. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. For the record, Chris Greisel, attorney for the City of Fishers. Before you is a resolution accepting the conveyance of certain real property. So this is land that's over approximately at 96th and Allisonville Road. In the early 2000s, there was a potential development that was going to take place on parcels 2 through 6, and it was noted as the Riverwalk development. And that land was owned by a company called Center Properties, owned by or developed by Craig Johnson, who has since passed away. As part of that development, once land was going to be developed within those parcels, the parcel that's identified by number 1 on the screen was going to be conveyed to the city as parkland adjacent to the White River. And so the development failed, never got carried forward, and you might have seen in the news over the last couple of years that Craig Johnson's estate has been tangled up with millions of dollars of creditors, and they're now on the back end of working through the estate process. And we've made a claim for the land in parcel number 1 to be transferred to the city pursuant to the commitments that were recorded on the land back in 2007. And so I've had a request from the estate administrator to convey the land back to the city. There's a period of time with the estate right now where any interveners can object to the transfer of land, which we'll know by the end of this week, but assuming there's no objections, then parcel number 1, identified on the map, will come over to the city, and only parcel number 1 is what we have an interest in. And so before you today, I'm asking for your acceptance of that conveyance, assuming that we have that conveyed to us here by the end of the week by the estate. The secondary item on that is that there's outstanding property taxes that are owed on the estate in the amount of $3,152.26. This is approximately 98 acres of property adjacent to the White River, so it's significant, and once we own it, like all of our property, we'll be tax exempt. But I'm also asking the board's approval to go ahead and make that payment so that this property isn't put up for a tax sale. So kind of in concurring patterns with my conversations with the estate, because there hasn't been action on this property, on this parcel for some time, it has been noticed for a tax sale by the county. And so long as we make payment before a certain date in early September, we're going to be able to avoid that tax sale. So I'd like to move forward with going ahead and asking your permission to pay off the tax owed on the property and then accept the transfer of the property, assuming the estate is good with that. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So this is an extraordinary opportunity for us to pick up 98 acres of parkland for $3,000 based on just some diligence on a several-year-old economic development agreement. And so it fits into a broader strategy that we have for this area, and we'd always kind of envisioned in our comp plan some sort of park. And I think it's also important to note this land connects up to Heritage Park, so we would have river frontage from 96th Street all the way up to 106th Street, which is really pretty unique. We don't have any immediate plans right now for development, but Megan Schaefer and others are working on kind of some regional opportunities that might present themselves to really kind of kickstart this project. But picking up 100 acres of parkland is a huge win for the city. So I'm excited about finally getting this accomplished. Any additional questions for Chris? Seeing there's no other question, Chris, do you need a motion for acceptance and the approval to go ahead and pay the taxes?
Yeah, the resolution accomplishes both, so if you
Okay.
make a motion to approve the resolution, that'll give us the authority to go ahead and make the payment to the county
Okay.
and then accept the transfer of the land from the estate.
All right, well, I will ask for a motion to approve the resolution. Moved by Jason, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Chris, for your work on that. Next is a resolution declaring certain property as surplus. Chief?
Thank you. For the record, Chief Nick Gephardt, trying to declare 2 pistols today. We'll take them one at a time. One is for Officer William Smith, 23 years of service in law enforcement, trying to declare a 6-hour PG-29, serial number AM118741 as surplus as he is retiring from law enforcement. The second is to Sergeant Dave Kim, 32 years of service, 6-hour, same model number, so serial number is AL55041.
Great. Any questions for Chief? Seeing none, is there a motion to surplus those 2 firearms?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second? Second by Jason. Wish them all the luck in their retirement. And is there a motion to approve? I'm sorry.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion's
you.
approved. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next is a request to approve a road cut on Allisonville Road for Citizens Energy Group. Wouldn't be a Board of Works meeting without a request to cut one of our roads open. Or 4 of them, yeah.
Good afternoon, Hatem Mekki, Assistant Director of Engineering, and before you there is approval for work for CEG Water Company on Allisonville Road. Basically, CEG had a water valve that was covered on Allisonville Road during reconstruction of Allisonville from 126 to 131st, so they're requesting some lane restrictions. so they can raise that water valve and place a concrete collar around it.
So is this on our contractors for having covered this up, or?
This was during the end of that Allisonville project, and it was a lot of things going on, and we tried to do that as quickly as possible. There was items that was kind of not taken into
Okay.
consideration out there in the field, so it was a quick
Yeah,
construction time.
So this is partially on us then, to some degree.
To some degree.
All right.
You said items, so is there more?
Well, there's.
Well, the next three.
part of the same.
No, these are
No,
different.
there's other utility items, this is separate, this is standalone CEG.
But are there any other anticipated issues on this stretch of road because of getting done quickly?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
They've had one that was already taken care of on just south of 126th Street.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the road cut?
Motion.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, request to approve pothole location in Allisonville Road.
For the record, Hatem Meki, Assistant Director of Engineering, and this is a request to approve some pothole locations on Allisonville for MCI Metro. TCS Communication has submitted a permit to install a fiber line across Allisonville Road, and there's an existing water line that goes north and south on Allisonville Road on the northbound lanes. So they will just pothole where that location of that water line is to avoid it when they are boring across Allisonville Road.
Any significant lane restrictions for this, Mackie?
They'll be restricting the northbound lane for a day or two just to finish their potholing and then fill it back in, and it'll be done.
Will you guys be coordinating time and,
Yes,
okay.
it'll be between the 9 and 3 in
Okay.
our timeframes. Yep.
Any additional questions for Mackie? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I do have a quick question, Chris, and I'm not, this is not posturing, I'm just asking. Do we have the legal right to deny a utility the ability to open cut a road, or, I mean, is that, do they have statutory authority that supersedes ours if they're trying to put a utility in?
Well, I think the city took steps and protective measures by passing the code to protect the streets that we bring to you all for special permission to have these open cuts and these potholes. So, yes, I believe you have the ability to do that. I can certainly look into it and get you a further legal answer, more than I'm prepared to
I'm
do
just
today.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
But certainly, if you're not satisfied with the permit that's being presented to you, or the lane restrictions that are proposed, or the traffic restrictions that are being proposed, then you have all the ability in the world to deny
Because,
that.
I mean, the most extreme case of this is we just say like, enough is enough. We've
Absolutely.
cut a brand-new road 15 times.
Correct.
We're just done. But I'm not sure where that leads us to, you know, from a legal perspective.
Sure.
So, just food for thought as we concentrate all these.
Yeah.
There, at what point, as, you know, your analogy, 15 times it's cut, a new road, so which utility company has to just repave the whole thing?
Right, right.
Or do they all, or can you go back after all of them and say, all right, this stretch needs to be redone?
Yeah, I don't,
20 feet, I mean, Jason's or Mecky's you know, if it's cut continuously 20 feet from this section, you go 50 feet, 100 feet beyond and just repave the whole thing? And is there a way to recoup the cost from everyone that's cut over?
There
Really
is,
over time.
and based on if it was concrete or HMA, there's thresholds that we can tell them, if you do this, then you have to go through to one lane and pave that one lane for a certain distance from one side, north and south of it. And I understand all of the trials that we go through. We
Yeah.
just finished Allisonville and they come 13 times and they start potholing, and it looks like we haven't really done
Right.
it, or then it leads to a couple of problems in the future.
So not necessarily all of them, but the last guy's like, all right, the last guy's gotta do it, or the last one that's requested it.
yeah.
It'll definitely save a hazard, of course.
So one additional thing that we are currently in the process of doing in the engineering department is updating our standard drawings and details. And as part of that, we are including conduit along our roadways, our main thoroughfares essentially. We're looking at whether we do that in our local streets such as neighborhoods. And then what we are also looking at is for future infrastructure, adding crossings for conduit, and then working with legal on, do we do a master lease for these conduits with the utility or not? Do we just, it's saving us future headaches of having to come in and do maintenance on an open cut. So we are looking at options to be able to prevent this from happening in the future. Right now, we are pretty limited on what we can do, like what
So what
we're
size
talking about.
conduit are you talking about?
Just empty PVC or steel pipe that allows the utility to go in. Now, that doesn't help, typically it's a 2-inch or 4-inch. That doesn't help whenever you have an 8-inch gas main that's crossing.
Probably more fiber and things like that.
Yeah, it's more fiber, cable, telephone, things of that nature, or even a water line, a 2-inch water line, we can do that as well.
But you feel comfortable with that, so does it cause collapse? A collapse, or indention over time?
Yeah, that's what, if it's under a roadway, we would require it to be steel so that it doesn't. We have standards that prevent that that minimize that from happening. There's always the potential that it could cause a collapse, but typically with the steel, it's set for that standard for loading purposes.
So Chris, under Indiana law, I know I'm quizzing you today about these things, but from a fee perspective, is there an opportunity to charge kind of an overall maintenance fee? So I know that we require them to put things back to reasonably the same way they were, but is there an additional fee that could be charged where we're putting that into a separate fund for all of these permits that we get, that we could then use to go resurface some of these areas? Because to Jason's point, I mean, if we're gonna have potholes every 12 feet, yeah, they fix the pothole back, but they don't go resurface the whole section of road. And I'm just wondering if there isn't an additional fee. I know the state has really ratcheted us down in our ability to charge for this, but it's going back on the taxpayers every time we gotta go fix these roads overall because they've been tore up 27 times as utilities have gone through there.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I'm happy to look into it. I think in general, with the state regulations for utilities, regulated utilities in particular, as long as you're fair and consistent with the assessments that you're making, you're allowed to implement things to protect your own right-of-way. So I'm happy to look into it further, and I understand the points made by the board.
When we did a district,
Yeah,
we did all that before.
right. It'd be interesting to just set up a non-reverting fund that there's a fee that goes in outside of their normal permit fee, but an additional fee. And then that money's used for going and resurfacing areas that have, because of a lot of development in the area, have seen the road really get tore up, so you can go back over and resurface it. It would have to accumulate over time, because you're not gonna get a lot of money in there, but it just seems like taxpayers are taking an unusual burden for all of this. That being said, is there a motion to approve the Allisonville Road MCIM Metro potholing?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second? Second by Jason, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to the request to approve pothole location in 116th Street for MCI Metro.
Same company, they're requesting a different location to pothole another water line. So this is on 116th Street, this is the southernmost eastbound lane. There is a water line that they were going to pothole just to avoid the conflict when they bore across 116th Street. So this is similar to the other one that they're requesting as well. So this is just to allow them to bore under 116th Street and avoid that water line.
What is the cross street there, Becky?
That's Allisonville and the 116th Street.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the MOT on this one is going to be a little bit more.
Yeah, I was
long.
gonna say, this is a busy intersection. We are, I know you know this, but we're contemplating a redevelopment or reconstruction of 116th and Allisonville. Is there any way to work with these guys now prior to putting utility in that we're gonna have to move again?
I think we are in the beginning stages of that project, so it is a possibility that we can work with them so we can avoid any conflicts in the future, having to go a lot deeper and possibly move a little bit away
Yeah.
from that area, but yes. it's-
Okay. Now, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Finally, one more for MCI Metro, request to pothole 131st Street.
Again, another request by TCS Communication, a sub for MCI Metro. This is another pothole on 131st Street and Cumberland Road. They are going to pothole another water line, which they are going to bore right under, I believe it's 131st Street. So this is the southernmost eastbound lane as well.
Is this gonna get done before school starts?
I will double check, but yes, we can restrict them and doing them before the school.
Yeah, that'd be good. That's a heavy traffic area for the schools. Okay, is there a motion to approve? Motion by Jason, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Mackie, and let's continue to figure out if there's additional opportunities to deal with this. Next up, final item is a request to enter into a professional services agreement with Urban Planners to perform a housing study. Megan?
Yes, good afternoon, Megan Schaefer with the Planning and Zoning Department. Sorry, that got a lot louder. So the item before you is for approval of a contract with Urban Partners, who we have identified as a consultant to complete our housing study and housing task force facilitation. So this year, we went through our first 5-year update to our Fishers 2040 Comprehensive Plan. And one of the major directives that came out of that update was to complete a housing study and form a housing task force. And so over the last month, we have gone through the RFP process and have identified Urban Partners, which is based out of Philadelphia, as the consultant for this project.
The only concern I had reviewing this was the timeline seems really long. It's almost a year to do the study.
So it's 8 months, compared to the other
In
requests.
my world, that's a year to 2 years.
Yeah, so to really complete the comprehensive housing study for what we're requesting and to help with the fiscal analysis of build-out of our city, that is a reasonable time from the other proposals that we received. I agree, I wish it was a shorter timeline, was hoping to get it done by the end of the year, but I think for the quality of the report, 8 months is what they're proposing.
Okay.
I mean,
Jeff?
I thought the cost was very reasonable
Yeah.
for the depth of the project, so,
Well, maybe that's a function of the timing too.
well, that's
Give them a
possible.
year, take a little more time to get it done. Or 8 months to be technical, right? Okay. Well, hopefully we can push them along a little bit faster. But excited to get this going. So is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second? Second by Jason, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries, thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
For those watching online or for Larry in the audience, be prepared, I think next Board of Works meeting, we start the 5G cell tower conversation again, is that correct, Chris?
Yep, and just a general note, and we'll follow this up with some public noticing, but we are switching times, not for that aspect, but we're working with board member availability and schedules, so our August meetings are gonna be held at 9 a.m., as well as our September and October meetings, and so more details to come on that, and Lindsay will get notice out this week, but we'll start having these meetings at 9. I think August 10th and August 30th are our next 2 meetings that we've got scheduled, and then September 16th and October 1st. And so as we continue to work with board members on their scheduling, we'll get that information out.
Great, thank you, Chris. With that, if there's no additional items, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second? Second by Jason, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries, thank you.